So hi folks, Brad here again. In this video, in response to some of the questions I've received, so thank you for that, is this car particularly noisy when you actually run it in hybrid mode, or even in hybrid charge mode, which is for those of you who don't know, it's if you push the HV button next to the Sport and Econ buttons, for the long press, you actually get, it'll not only will the gas motor come on to drive you down the road, it will also actually charge the battery as you drive. So if you're going to a place that will give you, you don't know, if you're driving an electric vehicle in a downtown, for example, you can do that. So you can charge your battery up on the way there, and then of course you can get in there and not pay a fee or whatever. Like London, England has that. If only I was so lucky to be there. So that's not how I typically drive. If you've seen any of my other videos, and if you have, thank you very much. And again, thank you all for your watch time and your subscriptions and everything else. So thank you for all that. But if you've seen any of my other videos or heard how I talk about this car, I exclusively drive it electric as much as possible. And by that I mean I only use electric mode. Excuse me, I'm just turning here. I only use electric mode until I'm until I'm absolutely out of electricity, and then I'll go into hybrid vehicle mode, or I won't even touch the button. Excuse me, it'll just do it on its own. So that's how I typically drive. I don't force it into HV. Like if I'm on the highway, I just drive as far as I can, reasonably with my electricity, and then the gas motor turns on, and that's great, and it just keeps me going. It does not charge the battery. I don't need it to do extra work just to do that, but that's not how I drive. So in this video, I have about half a charge, as you can see. I'm going to turn on hybrid mode, which I'll do right now. And you can see, there we go, that's out of EV. And from a sound standpoint, so let's start with that. Anyone who's had this car or knows that especially if you get down on juice and then the gas motor kicks on, if you would put a boot into the throttle, or what would be the throttle, it can make some pretty good noise, and all of the quietness you get from driving a car that's predominantly electric goes out the window, because it's a particularly boomy is the wrong word, but it's a little harsh. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a small motor revving like crazy, so it's going to make some noise in the cabin. And yeah, this is a super quiet car, but it's no Bentley, so we'll hear that. But in hybrid mode, especially not hybrid charge mode, I mean, it's on now. I'm driving at just call it 40 miles an hour, 71 or 72 kilometers an hour. I don't notice any difference. And this is typical when I'm driving, if I've depleted the battery and then I'm running, hybrid. Pardon me, it will sound like this. And there, even now as I'm stopped at a light, you can hear it running. It's nothing obtrusive though. So great. So my take on that is it's just mild. It's no more boisterous than driving your Honda Accord that isn't a hybrid or a plug-in. So I don't think it's at all a black mark on this car that you can hear it when it's in hybrid mode, because it just sounds, it's still quiet, it still shuts off, it still only runs at certain RPM, whatever it decides it needs to maintain your whatever you've called on it from your right foot. So I don't see it I don't hear it at all, really. And now that I'm driving, it's more tire noise that I pick up, depending on the quality of the road you're on. So I think it's fine. It's certainly no detriment to driving the car, and if that's how you like to drive, then all the better. There's no downside to it. So let's do the quote-unquote long press now, and you'll see that it's hybrid plus charge. And already, I'm going up a little bit of a hill and I'm accelerating, so you'll hear the motor come on a little more. Now I'm maybe not the best hearing, but I'm sure the mic is picking up some of that. So and now again, I'm going up a little bit of a hill, so it's going to do its best to charge the car as well as propel me down the road, which is totally cool that it has that option, again, because maybe you need that. Again, maybe you're driving to somewhere where you can take advantage of driving electric only and get an HOV lane or something like that. Who knows? All that stuff's great. So again, it's not how I drive, but I was also interested in doing a little experiment. So the last time that I drained my EV, like my batteries, to run, I used up all my electric only mode, and of course it gives you the 2 bars on the left and the charged meter. I wanted to see what it would be like to charge it. I had a full tank of gas and no battery juice left, except, like I say, the 2 bars that it always leaves for you. And then I put it in hybrid charge mode because I wanted to know 2 things. One, how much of regular driving, quote unquote regular driving, like I'm kind of doing now, it's a mix of freeway and kind of downtown driving, things like that. How long would it take to charge the car up? So that's the first thing I wanted to know, is because obviously, you know, that's kind of cool, and I wonder what the penalty would be. The second thing, of course, is how much gas does that use? I have a picture of it, which I'll show, but I'll tag that below. But when I did that, again, from dead flat in the batteries, as low as you can go, with a full tank of gas and hybrid plus charge, it charges, by the way, not to the maximum. There's a maximum which is less than the full batteries that it will charge to on this mode. So it's about call it 3 bars above half. So not fully. I wouldn't even call it 3/4. I'd call it about 2/3. So that's the maximum you can charge this car by running it in hybrid plus charge mode. So that was a surprise. I guess there's a reason for that. I don't really know, but that's fine. But the best of that is it only took 50.5 kilometers or so, 30 miles of typical driving in order for me to charge it that much. Plus it only used about 2 bars of fuel. So again, given this thing has a ridiculously small fuel tank, it wasn't even 1/8 of a tank, and it used that to charge up. So I haven't worked out the efficiency, you know, what were my actual miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers on that, but I was pleased to see that it's quite efficient. And again, I'm driving in it right now, so it is actively charging the car as well as driving here. Let's see if I can drive enough here that you'll see it kick up a couple of bars. But you know, there we go. I'm stepping on the throttle. I'm accelerating up a bit of a hill. I've got a pretty good boot in it. It's not much of a hill, but call it a 5 or 6% grade or so. And now I'm off the throttle, and you can still hear the gas motor turning, certainly much higher than it would be if you were in a gas-powered car only and you were in an automatic. The revs would drop and things like that. But again, not obtrusive. The rest of this car is so damn quiet that you might notice it more than otherwise you would. But honestly, at no point, and this is really to answer the questions that I've been asked, is it obtrusive and would it be a deal breaker for buying this car? And unequivocally, the answer is no. You know, maybe in subsequent model years they might try to quiet it down a little. Maybe they'll reprogram how it works, or who knows. But it is not a detriment to driving this car whatsoever. And like I say, it's a kind of a cool feature. No, you don't want to burn gas to charge your batteries just to drive yourself around again, because every time you convert energy, you will ultimately lose some to friction and heat and all the rest of that. But it's a cool, if you have to have it, it's interesting to use the gas motor to actually not only propel you, but charge the batteries, and then you can go electric only when you need to. Again, I was pleased that it didn't take very long to get to the maximum amount. Again, about 50.5 or 51 kilometers, about 30 miles or so. Plus, it hardly used any fuel, and it was pretty efficient doing so. So I'll drive for another couple minutes here. I don't want to bore you to death, folks, with my voice, but just so you can see that it kicks up here or there, even kind of live here. So not the most compelling demonstration, but for those of you that are interested, it is nice to see. I mean, I like to see, instead of hearing people talk, I prefer to see the crap actually work. So let's do that for a minute or two, and hopefully I won't get a speeding ticket because it went a little faster than I should. But again, I was pleased. Didn't take an awful lot fuel and or mileage to get it up to where it would take the maximum. So anyway, yeah, another 30 seconds or so, then I'll turn this off. But anyway, while this is going, maybe I'll do my final thoughts here. Again, I continue to love this car. Now that it's, you know, it's only about 16 degrees Celsius here, which is, what would that be, Fahrenheit? Maybe 50? You know, it's later in the evening, it's close to the solstice, so of course it's bright as hell here. But this thing is getting phenomenal range. I haven't quite hit the 100 kilometer range, which is like 60, call it 65 miles, 62 and a bit. I've gone definitely deep into the 70s, so folks that have seen 70 miles per charge, now that's obviously something I'd love to see. I've had to take some trips, so that kind of kills that here and there, but haven't quite hit that. That's too bad, but with every degree warmer, I get more and more range, which is just a huge bonus, because if you've seen my other videos, you'll remember that I calculated my average cost per kilometer. Unfortunately, I'm from Canada, so I use kilometers at 2 cents, and that was presuming an average of only 50 kilometers per charge, like 30 miles per charge, and I'm getting way better than that in the summer, which I think frankly would more than offset, and I'm going to mark this down so I can actually see it for real, more than offset the fact that during the cold time of year in the winter, I get about 30 kilometers on that, because it just can't keep up. Cold weather is cold is bad for batteries and charge life and all that, so we know that. So other than that, again, I love the car. It's done everything I've expected. I've hardly used any gas in its life. Over a year now, 30,000 kilometers, 20,000 miles, and maybe 5,000 miles of that on gas, the rest on electricity. So call it 8,000 kilometers out of 30,000 kilometers on gas, and the rest is pure electric, which means the gas motor is going to last forever doing that. So that's fantastic. What else? I guess the interior is holding up well. You know, the tires are holding up well. I do tend to hoon on it a little bit here and there, even though it's a big heavy car. Brakes seem to be just fine. I have, you know, when I did the last service, I did actually check the brakes, and there were certainly lots of meat left on them. The rotors look great. Nothing that would indicate there's any issue at all. So I expect the rotors to last a long time. Again, using the regen, which you'll see me if you're paying attention, you'll see that I put the regen on. Not necessarily in this mode, but you know, like I say, the interior is holding up well. Even like the suede-ish stuff that they have, which I kind of thought would just get dirty with my kids and everything else. You know, the car looks great. Paint's still great. I mean, all those things you'd expect it have to be after only a year of ownership. But again, no complaints. This thing doesn't make any more rattles than it did. Again, and going through some winters, or a good solid winter of minus 40, you know, that takes its toll on anything. No problem there. I just love this damn thing. It's fantastic. It does everything I need it to. It's got tons of space. My kids love it more and more every day too. Even my parents, who are kind of die-hard Mercedes fans, were really coming around. Plus, they love the concept of the hybrid vehicle now. So maybe I'll get them into an e-tron or something like that. See how much money they want to spend in retirement. So beyond all that, thank you for watching this long. As always, I appreciate it can get a little long with just looking at my face and the B-roll I have here. So thank you for sticking around this long. Thank you always for your comments and your criticism, constructive or otherwise. You know, I think it's fantastic that we're just having a conversation about this car, and really what a step up it is from a maintenance standpoint, a cost standpoint. I still can't get over that I've had 30,000 kilometers, and all it's cost me is a little bit of gas and $150 for oil and a filter. Not even that much, honestly, and just some time. So great car. I hope to have it for a lot of years to come. I hope I can still make videos. It'll be interesting for you folks for all these years to come. And again, thank you for every watch minute, every subscription, and all of your questions and comments. So with that, I'll bid adieu here, and I hope you all have a great week or two until I can get back to you. I hope that life continues to treat you all well, and I hope you're all enjoying this summer out there. It's nice to finally have it where I'm from. So anyway, folks, thank you all again, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next video. Bye now.